turn the machine on and off, this button. Turn it on, you turn that button on. When you're done, doesn't matter which screen you're in, to shut it off, you just turn that power switch off and it's off. Okay? But once you turn it on, this is your user screen. This is where you'll select you, whoever's using it. Okay? So basically this is highlighted. Okay? If there was other names in here, you would just push what your name was and it would highlight it, and then you hit OK. It's going to ask you for a password, 3-digit password. You punch in the password, you hit OK. Now this is the only information you have to give the machine at this point. Okay? The first thing is shows you a picture of the gun. Okay? The gun never changes, so there's no point of touching that. Okay? But if you touch it, and if you notice, there's a whole slew of guns that you can pick from. Okay? Because this machine is in industrial applications, and there's different countries, it's got different guns and stuff. So you don't ever mess with that though. Okay? Hit escape, you just don't even have to touch it. Okay? So you hit OK. That's the gun. The next one you have is the arm. I know the machine. I look at that picture, I can see it matches that arm. I would just hit OK. If you don't know it and you question it, you hit the button. Now if you look, and these arrows will scroll. Okay? And if you notice, there's that arm. There is the big C, which is over there.
Which is this one.
This one here is the standard one. And if you look, and this is the single-sided gun. This one here is the same as the small one. So you know. Okay? But now basically you see this one's highlighted. Okay? Now again, like I said, if I knew it, like I know that that's that gun, I would have just hit OK. Tips. I can look in that machine. There's 2 sets of tips. Basically, you have a flatter shaped tip and a bullet shaped tip. The flatter shaped tip we have in the big C only. The smaller tip are in all the other 3 arms. Okay? So basically, by looking at it, we can see that that's in there. But again, if you're questioning it, hit the screen, scroll through, find the one that matches. It's either going to be A or E. We see that it looks more like the E. You hit E. When you're done, you hit OK. It now says need to execute tool calibration. Hit OK. You'll see the air pressure comes on. You'll hear the machine start running. What you're going to do now is pull the trigger and hold it until the beep stops. What that's doing is checking the condition of the tips. It's measuring the resistance in the tips, so that way when it starts welding, it has a starting point to know where it's starting from, the resistance. Pull the trigger.
If the tips are bad, what's it going to say?
Boom caliber. Yeah. Now you heard the beep stop, release, and now we get to a screen where we pick which program we're going to weld. I'm going to go through this quick in a second. Tips, okay, as far as which tips, you know, with tips being bad, this machine is not like the early design machines where you can use tips when they're bad. If they're too small, this machine ain't going to work right. I went into a customer shop last week. We drove an hour to do a service call on the machine because the guy told me it's giving me all these error messages saying line error, like it's losing a phase of power and it's doing all these things. I drove all the way there, and one of these tips was about that size, and not only was it that size, it was like this on one of the tips.
It was overused.
It was so far, it was the worst tip I'd ever seen. But this machine, it's a smart machine. It's measuring resistance, and it's measuring metal thicknesses. If you have tips that look like that, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? It's not going to work properly. So you have to maintain it.
No, Sean.
Like I showed you, this is a sharpener. It'll keep this shape. And when this starts mushrooming a little bit, you put this on and grind it down a little bit.
Now, the calibration, it has to be done every time.
Every single time.
Prior to the welding.
Yes, the machine will not weld unless you do a calibration. That's part of the smart machine technology. It has to be able to have a starting point to start welding. Now, if you look here, there's Smart Plus, Smart, Easy, and Expert. Okay? Now I'm going to show you. I'll start off with Expert. Expert, notice right here, this is a welding parameter. This is for Audi. You see the Audi program right here? I can go back in here, work mode. Actually, I need it. Car manufacturers programs. We have car manufacturers programs. The only one that anyone would ever use is Audi, because Audi's the only one that requires that we give them Audi programs. Mercedes approves the machine Smart Plus. Every BMW, Smart Plus. You don't have to select it, but Audi requires special programs for Audi. So as you see, we have a special program specifically for Audi, okay? But if I was an Audi shop, I would use Smart Plus. It's good enough for every other manufacturer. It's good enough for an Audi. But for their shops, when they buy an Audi welder, it comes gray, it says Audi on it, and it has their programs.
How do you tell after you press the weld that it was made with the Audi program?
You don't.
So
You don't.
If you weld it with the other one?
Correct. Correct.
It just, they wanted it that way.
They want it that way. Has to have it. Okay. So now, if I go back out, now, so that's expert. So as you see, there's really no reason to ever hit that button. Okay? The next one is easy. If you look at these symbols, they're the same symbols you're going to see on that welder over there. They call it easy, but it's anything but easy. Because you have to tell it the time, the current, the squeeze pressure, okay? And there's more settings. You can get in and tell it the slope, and you can change all these things that you have no idea. I don't have any idea what it really is going to do as far as making a good weld. So realistically, no point in hitting easy, okay? Now we have Smart Plus and Smart, okay? And I'm going to start with Smart. Smart, basically, in the Smart program, you tell it the type of material you're welding. You notice if I touch this, mild steel, high strength, trip steel, boron, okay? Number of layers, 2, 3, 4, okay? And then I have the thickness of sheet 1, thickness of sheet 2, okay? Now I can do a weld. All right. I'm going to do a weld on Smart Plus. Tell me if you tell me if I'm going to do this weld, and then I'm going to go to Smart Plus. Tell me if you see the difference. I'm going to go to Smart Plus now. The difference is, I gave that machine the information, okay, like you do on a Pro Spot, or the early design machines, and the other one, the machine knew what to go by the resistance, okay? So, you may say to me, well, why have that? You have Smart Plus, why have Smart? And, for your concern, the roof, the dreaded roof, because this is heavy, okay? I did a demo at a GM dealer up in Gainesville, okay? It's gonna be hot. Use the red. I went up to a GM dealer, a GMC dealer in Gainesville, and ProSpot had done the demo just before I did. They got to do a B pillar on a Chevrolet. I got a roof on a Jimmy, okay? Which is the worst possible thing that I can do, because now I have to lean across the roof with this gun and weld that. So basically, I said to the technician, I'm like, well, do you want to weld it? He said, no, you weld it. So I basically welded it. Well, what did I weld it in? What program do you think I welded it in? I welded it in Smart, okay? I set it for the right settings. I welded it in Smart because I could weld, not have to hold it up there for that lengthy period of time, okay? But you see it welds better, and it's a better weld when you put it in Smart Plus. Now, again, if you take the time and you do a sample weld and you make sure the weld's good, you can get it right with Smart. But Smart Plus is going to give you a better weld. It's going to be consistent every time. It's going to give you a great weld every time.
If I choose Smart to do a quarter,
right?
It's quicker, and I think it just...
It comes down to you setting the machine right.
Right.
The other way?
For example, when we're gonna do a quarter, we
Right.
wanted to do it, you know, quicker.
Right.
The time that is set on the smart
Plus.
plus, it take longer.
Right.
And it press a lot, so we have thin metal on the quarter normally.
Well, but again, remember, I am doing the sample on thicker metal than what you're going to do. Like you've seen, that wasn't as long. The weld takes longer on Smart Plus than it does
On a smart.
on Smart, but it also takes longer the thicker the metal. Because like you see, sometimes it welds 3 welds, it actually gives 3 pulses of power, and where if you weld thin metal, you can only do 2 pulses of power. So it depends on which you're welding. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. If we
You
go
know.
on a pillar or whatever,
Yes.
I think I personally I would choose smart.
If
on-
you're
on quarter.
confident in adjusting the machine,
Question.
Right.
Just to check, for example, if I grab the 2 sheet metal like this,
right?
and you just with the smart press one time,
Right.
then I twist it. I can see, you know, if it was a good weld or not.
Yeah, but doing that is not. This is not right. You pull like this on a spot weld. The strength on a spot weld
It's pulling,
is pulling.
not twisting.
Right.
Twisting
You
into the
you
middle.
want to be able to tear a nugget. You want to hold to pull out of one panel to give
Okay.
and actually tear a nugget. That because if you have a panel that's spot welded with multiple spot welds, it can never do this. Okay, but it can do this. So so basically that's how you would test it. You cut a panel piece off the car. Like you guys have this piece, that you cut a piece off, you cut a small piece with a cut-off wheel or whatever, you make that weld, that looks beautiful. You do a couple welds, you set it up, that's beautiful.
So I
Boom,
would
you
have
go
to
through.
add more spot on a car. You know, normally the other machine is.
You do not have to add more spots with this welder, especially if you do Smart Plus, because it's without. Once you get comfortable with Smart and you feel, you know what? You know why that GM dealer up in Gainesville? I went through, and it was a demo. I did the front of the roof. He ended up doing the back. You can only weld the front and rear on the GMC. I guess it was glued on the side, and he did the back of it. And